Alright, just gonna get started here. I got sidetracked. There's a fire truck outside. I'm just straightening up my office a little bit before I continue. Alright. So, this board has a internal, well, it had an internal short on, well, I don't know where it was, but it's in the vicinity of the clock circuit, and I believe it's for PPV RTC G3 hot, and the issue I was having, the board was all corroded near the SMC. I'm reflowing the SMC, right, and then I lose voltage on PP bus G3 hot, and then I lose voltage on 3V42. Well, if we don't have voltage on 3V42, we're only going to get around half a volt on G3 hot, on PP bus G3 hot, and that's what I was getting. So that's what I started investigating, right? And then I changed the ISL. I wasn't thinking, and before checking 3V42 voltage, I checked 3V42 voltage at 0. So measure everything looks good near my regulator. It's not the regulator, said, okay, let's put some voltage on there. Let's put 3V42, 3.42 volts on there. Let's see if I can simulate and get PP bus G3 hot voltage back. I do that, the whole board just starts arcing from the bottom end. I have a look at the board, and I see there's, a short, and I just kind of picked away at it until it explodes. So here's where we're at with this board. I was working on it prior. So if we come down here, so we don't have an SMC on here. We don't have an SMC reset chip on here. We don't have a lot of things. And we have this. Yeah. So I'm gonna try. I'm probably gonna fail, but that's okay. What can I say? This is it's probably gonna, we're probably gonna get it going, and it's gonna be missing PP3V PM sleep S4L or something. Yeah, this is gonna be a waste of time. Look at how deep that is. Alright, so where do I start? Do I really want to waste a new SMC on this? You know what? Yeah, you know what? I think what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna call next, because I think what I'd rather do is, last night I was working late, like it was 12 a.m., 1 o'clock, and I said, you know what, I'll try and fix this one. Well, I made a mess of a LP85550 job. I mean, I made a mess. So we're going to try and fix that maybe. Don't work on boards when you're that tired, please. You're just going to end up with a mess. So what I'm going to do is probably rebuild the circuit on that one. See if we get a spark or anything still, but yeah, this pulling nothing. Yeah, you know what? Alright, so forget this. Alright, so what's next? What's next in the pile? So that's later. Let's have a look at this right now. So this is a A1502 with the complaint that it does not boot. It turns on, fan spins. What do we work on today? Well, I was gonna work on this board that had a big hole in it that I was thinking about working on it, and then 1 second here. Hang on, I gotta reply to a customer. Alright, I don't remember what I was saying, but has anyone noticed anything different about the stream quality? Because we now have an i7 4700 MQ and a better camera. Alright. So next on the list is an A1502. Turns on, does not chime, doesn't show an image on the screen, and this board is completely clean. But there is signs of drop damage. So it has PLT reset L. Usually that's the signal you're going to get when it's turning on but not showing anything on the screen. So my method of troubleshooting on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in the enclosure. I'm going to plug it into a external display, and I'm going to see if we get an image. Now, if we don't get an image, that's telling me the board isn't booting. So on this, on any of these MacBook boards with soldered on RAM, that could be a culprit. One thing I did prior to the stream also is I tapped on each of them. I took my back end of my tweezers and I hit each RAM chip. If there's a broken solder joint, maybe it'll work after I did that, and then what we'll do is reflow the RAM, and that should solve it. There is some drop damage now. If it shows me an image on external, that's telling me the screen is bad. So let's probably replace the screen. It does have drop damage on the screen, but the drop damage without chiming is pointing me it's probably a RAM issue. It could be a broken solder joint under the CPU. That's entirely possible. I don't think so. It could be broken solder joint in the clock area, but I really highly doubt it. The RAM is the usual suspects on these. So we're going to go ahead and let's put this back in the enclosure, and let's see if get an image. Now, depending on their volume settings, it may not chime. That's the only thing. Alright, these boards tend to be a real pain. Well, not really. I mean, the first one you get of these of an A1502, you're probably going to mess up the keyboard cable. At least that's what I did. Luckily, the keyboard was already replaced in it prior, so I didn't have to cut the rivets out. We don't need keyboard, we don't need any of that. Just kind of... The boards, they never want to sit flat. I don't know why Apple couldn't just make them to drop in, but there we go. It's always like the battery connector. And there's another thing is, it's like on all Apple machines, the connectors always have a tendency to go under the board, and then you can't get them out. It's like that on every one. That they connect the... Some cable somewhere gets stuck under the board, and then, you know. Alright, so that's all we need. Or the trackpad cable. Yeah, the trackpad cable. There's a funny story on that one. It was late at night. No, I don't need that. You know, or no, I'm not going to take the board off that. The trackpad cable got stuck under the board, right? I don't need to take the board off that. Let me just stick my razor knife sharp Hakko CHP3SA tweezers under the board and take it out. Well, guess what happened? The cable ripped. So I ordered another one. Changing it's not a problem, you know. It's just the battery's got to come out, right? Not a problem. So, you know, USPS, this is like December, right? This is December. This is you know, peak holiday season in December. So I said, you know, it's coming from California. It's only coming from, you know, somewhere by the ocean. Post office takes 8 days to get it to get it to me, right? So the day I'm going, Anthony in the chat from the Mac Studio in Venice, California. If anyone's watching this and has a MacBook and you're near Venice, visit his shop. I even checked with the mailman before I leave. I said, do you have this cable? Do you have this cable on your truck? Because it said out for deliveries. And they said, no, I don't have it. It's like, okay. So I drive. It's about a 70-mile drive. Luckily, traffic wasn't too bad going there. So he has the cable in stock. Luckily, he changes the cable. And that's what I did from not pulling the board out when a cable got stuck under it. So yeah, definitely work on getting your, if you get a cable stuck under the board, take the board out. Don't do, you know, yes, it takes longer, yes, it's a pain, but it's a whole lot less of a pain than breaking the cable. Thank you. Thumbs up for a nice clean stream. Alright, so that's plugged in. Plug in the I/O board, and now what we're going to do, we're going to go over to HDMI. And let's see if it's displaying an image on the screen. That's plugged in. First, let's see if it'll give me an image without. Nothing. Alright. Do I have VCore? Yeah, USPS at its finest. And the funny thing is I just had to order a part for a board, right? And, why are we getting, oh, there we go. We have 1.8 volts of VCore. So we have 1.8 volts of VCore. This is in SO state and turning on. And there is nothing on the screen. So let's get a HDMI cable. Alright, HDMI cable. That means I have to reach over there and plug it in. And the funny thing is I just unplugged it to move it over here, and then this happens. One second here. Alright, so plugging this into HDMI. Do we get an image? And let me tell you something. Anything that turns on and doesn't boot, good luck. Alright, so here's what I'm guessing. It's not getting an image, but we haven't had an SSD plug in. Let's plug in an SSD. What slot was this? Here we are. Close enough. Let's see if we get an image. Wait, is this the right slot? I don't want to mix them up. Why is this in here? This is what threw me off. I see the speaker, but this was a mistake. So yeah, this is going to go in the slot 4 spot. And I also have one in slot 1, which is the air. Okay. Making sure I don't screw anything up. I hate to put someone's SSD in their own computer. They all look alike. That would not be fun. And I would get in trouble. Alright, so we have a green light. And measuring on the board. There, just hit an SO state. We have VCore. Nothing on the screen. Just says unknown on the still nothing. Says unknown. Yeah. Alright, so now we know we're dealing with a actual no image problem. There is no image, it's not booting, it's not turning on. So here's what we can do when we come across this. We already know whatever this is, it's not going to be fun. When you're turning on but not booting, it means it doesn't know what to do, it's not trying to do anything. We have to think, we kind of have to think back what might have happened. So we don't know if this computer had service done on it, but if there was service done on it, right, something might have happened. You know, a component might have been knocked off, who knows. So no booting could be anything. It's one of those other things where it could be literally anything. It could be RAM, it could be, gotta unplug the LVDS connector. Oh wow, look at that. Oh, because I left the keyboard backlight connector plugged in. That's not a big deal. Alright, so it could be numerous things. It could be a random knocked off component somewhere. It could be a bad CPU. It could be bad RAM. It could be, the list goes on. So what we're going to do is give this board a really, really thorough inspection under the scope. And we're going to see if we see anything out of the ordinary. So we know we're not getting an image on external. So we know we could rule out the screen or something in the circuit for the screen. But you see this area looks just great. So nothing to worry about there. Inspect for knocked off components. You could tell when, like, let's say a pad like that, that's not knocked off. That's no stuff from the factory. That's normal. Same with that one. A knocked off component is going to look somewhat different. So we're just going to look. That's just glue. That's nothing. This is from me tapping on the RAM chips. We're probably going to reflow these guys. This is one of the few the few occurrences where yes, you can reflow something. So nothing near the edge, looks good. These two ICs are for the keyboard. I've seen these guys fail before and cause like some rows of the keys to work and not. Only on the 4924. That's the ISL. That's irrelevant because it's booting. For SMC reset, the SMC area looks okay. Clock area. Now here's a potential cause, the clock chips. Let's have a look at those solder joints. Those look good right there. Do I see something? Let's have a look. nothing there. Let's have a look at our U7400 area and then our BIOS area. This is U7400 or whatever it is that controls the CPU. Yep, nothing at all. Alright, so let's think about a desktop or a laptop, right? Sometimes they beep. They beep, you know, you put a bad RAM stick on, it beeps, and it beeps, and it beeps. And other times they don't beep. They just have no image. They don't boot. They don't post. They don't get to the point of beeping. They just do nothing. So that can happen with RAM. That could happen with being dropped. Given how this board looks and no known history, the 4924 boards, the 820 4924 boards are seldomly just going to fail out of nowhere. Something had to have made this fail. There's no liquid on this board. How did it fail? There is a reason behind everything. So I'm going to close the blinds so people don't think I'm talking to myself. So you can see right in the office, right? There's probably people outside looking in saying, "What is a crazy person talking to themselves?" So this has to fail somehow. Between drops, something has to make this fail. It's not just going to die out of nowhere. So given what it's doing, it's turning on, but it's not booting. Maybe one of the RAM chips has broken joints in it. So we're going to give these guys a reflow. Now, here's the thing about these. Be careful about the stuff in the area. It's right near the CPU. Leave the heatsink on the CPU. Do not take the heatsink off the CPU unless, of course, you want a cooked CPU. If you want a cooked CPU, by all means, leave the heatsink off and have a cooked CPU. But I don't want that, so I will be taking the heatsink off. And we're going to try this. It may not work, but let's see. So, RAM. We're going to start over here, right near the fan connector. We're probably going to melt the fan connector. Don't worry about it. Fan connectors are easy to change. So let's just not even worry about the fan connector right now. If we melt it, we melt it. Big deal. There. So, back to what I was saying. The fan connector fan connectors right here, our RAM chips right here. Do not move in on this chip right away. You're going to burn it if you do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put flux in all of these. Use your biggest nozzle of the hot air. If you have a cheap hot air station, do not attempt this. It's just not going to work. So let's just get a ton of flux in there on each one of these. Use plenty of flux, you'll need it. So what we're going to do, we're going to preheat the board. We're going to preheat and with our hot air. We're not going to put this in an oven, we're just going to preheat with our hot air station. Alright, so 430 degrees. Smoke alarm, probably gonna go off. You know the drill around here. Those that watch your channel regularly. Let's put the fume extractor as close as we can get it. And let's start. I'm gonna kind of hold the fume extractor. What I'm gonna do is preheat the board from far away. Right, I'm a few inches away. I want to heat up this board. I want to get the flux down in there. It's spraying everywhere, the flux. my tweezers. I need my tweezers. What I'm gonna do is gonna give it a little poke, right? Get a little more flux in there. The first one is probably gonna be the hardest because you're not gonna have, the board is gonna be cold, kind of cold, and the rest should go easier because the board is already pretty warm. There we go. That one's done. Jiggling, see that? On to the next one. Smoke alarm's gonna go off. There we go. That's another one. Come on. And the last one. There, done. So all 4 round chips were reflowed. Let me a minute to suck up all these fumes. The flux has a nice coating. The board has a nice coating of flux. Check that out. So, just gonna let the air filter pick up some of this stuff. And it set off the smoke alarms. And the fume extractor did its job. I still saw smoke going that way, but it didn't set off the alarm. Alright, I gotta let the board cool before I even touch it, so alright, the board should be cool enough. Alright, so I didn't set off the smoke alarm. We reflowed our RAM. Check out all that flux, how it just accumulated right here. Well, you guys can't see it, but it kind of just pushed on the other side of the board and made a really nice coating on the... Oh, no way. Did that seriously lift one of those keyboard ICs? It sure did, didn't it? Wow, no way, no. It couldn't have gotten that hot where it lifted that IC. There's no way. I don't believe it. There's no way it could have gotten that hot right there that it lifted that IC on this board. Okay, good. No, good. I was gonna say it looked like it from that angle that it lifted that IC, but it was just from the flux being right there. This is gonna get ultrasonic too, so not too concerned about it now. If it shows me an image, I'll ultrasonic it, then we're done. Now, of course, the next possible solution is one under the CPU. In that case, we're probably not going to fix that. It lifted. It didn't lift. It didn't lift. Just make sure I didn't knock anything off around the RAM. That's going to cause a fire. Fan connector's intact too. Nice. All right. Let's get our fan. I hate this flux when it gets on my hands. You don't care about the fan. It doesn't need a fan. It's a Haswell ULV. It doesn't need a fan. You can take a Haswell or Broadwell ULV, take the heatsink off and run it. It's still going to run. It's not going to shut off, usually. Not saying do that, but, you know, testing purposes, that's fine. Now, like the bigger MacBook Pros, the Retinas and stuff, don't do that. But on Airs and sometimes the Retinas, anyone that uses an Ultrabook processor, you can usually test it without a heatsink, and it won't even shut off. It'll just throttle. Getting all that nasty flux off my desk. Alright, so will this work? Maybe, maybe not. There. That would be my only guess with random dead, but I don't know. If it was missing platform reset, I would think the CPU is bad, or the PCH on the CPU, but platform reset missing is my worst nightmare. That'll give me nightmares at night. If I'm gonna have a nightmare about one thing, it's probably gonna be platform reset. PLT reset L. I don't think I fixed one missing that signal. Sometimes it could be the clock chip, but it's never the clock chip. Alright, that's good enough. We don't need everything. Just the basics. I don't care about the rest. Well, let's unplug the trackpad, I guess. I don't want to bust the LVDS connector. On these Retinas, these LVDS cables, these are one of my worst, or my least favorite cables to plug in. The corners always get stuck, and then you end up breaking the corner of the cable. I used to try and disassemble so quick and everything. Take your time. Let's plug the battery in. Get my meter up. Let's measure VCore. And it's probably not going to work. Nope. VCore. No light on the screen. Is this misdiagnosed as no backlight? can't tell. Alright, let me get my HDMI plug out. And then if it doesn't work, this is going to go in my pile for later. Alright, let's see. Well, it's not going to get... Let me plug in my test drive, I guess, because I don't know if their SSD is any good. Never know if the SSD is good, so. Alright, that's power. I need my SATA cable, which is over here. Let's fall forward in my chair and then we'll just good entertainment. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm leaving the SSD out, then I'm plugging in my test drive, and what that's going to tell me, it's going to boot automatically off the test drive, which I know is good because I use it every day. So let's plug in the charger. And also what I'm going to watch is my lights. I have lights on the drive, and it's going to tell me if the computer is talking to it at all. So if it's not if it doesn't talk to it, maybe the... Yeah, okay, so we got lights. Not blinking though, so it's not really communicating to the computer. Now another test we can do is plug in a mouse and see if the mouse lights up. So if the mouse lights up, maybe we have hope. If the mouse doesn't light up, it's basically brain dead. So let's find a USB mouse, and we're getting nothing on the screen. Do I have a USB? You know what? Probably don't even have a USB mouse. Alright. Let's measure V4 one more time. I'm going to check on all phases instead of just one. So phase 1, phase 2. Yeah, you know what? This is hopeless. Yeah, so basically the computer is brain dead. So here's my final test. I am going to unplug everything but the screen, I/O cable. Maybe there's something shorted in the I/O cable. Everything. So the only thing we want plugged in right now is the DCM board and the screen. No battery, nothing. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna drop my tweezers and my microscope light. That's twice in a row. Twice. Alright, so the only thing that I want plugged in is the charger and the screen. I'm going to plug it in. We're done with the HDMI. And the fan is blaring, which is normal. So we unplugged everything. It's not going to have any sensors or anything. The fan is just spinning on high. I don't know if it's normal for it to go high like that quick. Yeah, I guess so. Alright, let's see. Let's plug these speakers in And let's see if I hear a chime, or let's try anyway. Yeah, so now this is more looking like CPU related, maybe BIOS related. No chime. Alright, so I'm going to try a PRAM reset. Believe it or not, stuff gets through. I assume that shops always do a PRAM reset, but sometimes they don't. You know, forget it. It's the keyboard connectors filled with flux. Alright, so basically right now it's going to be probably dead CPU. Probably nothing I can do right now. So what this is going to get, it's going to get ultrasonic. Maybe there's a little corrosion hiding under something. Then I'll basically, you know, throw in the towel and say it's done. So yeah, this one looks like a no fix. Happens. And let's see what we have next to fix. Bye-bye CPU. Yep, that's right. Bye-bye CPU. Intel, it lived a good life. It lived a year and a half. Sounds about average for an Apple product. But that's Apple. Alright, so let's take a look at the board that I was half asleep and decided that it was an excellent idea to work on something when you're half asleep. So I could barely see because my eyes were working out. It was late at night. And let's see. So the main thing, it's probably going to work, but yeah, it's just plain out embarrassing. So the LP85550 soldering the wire right there. It's kind of embarrassing. Actually, can I leave that? Maybe I can actually leave that. Let's see. Let's go to board view. What? I don't feel like opening. Yeah, I'll open it. Okay. I might be able to leave that. Maybe I thought it was so bad because I was half asleep and wasn't seeing correctly. I was seeing something for worse than it actually was. Okay. So I just want to check for a short between the feedback line and backlight PWM, because if there's a short in backlight PWM and you let that 50 volts from your backlight circuit go to your PCH, that ain't going to be a happy PCH. It's more going to be a fireworks show. So let's see. This computer actually was in the ocean at one time. So this was in the ocean, believe it or not. Keep your computers out of the ocean. Right now, it's not shorted. I just want to look at it a little bit better. Yeah, computers that go to, okay, so I got sent a computer that was in the sand one time. This has done it a little bit over by being in the ocean itself. So it was corroded all over big time. I cleaned up a lot of it. It still has some corrosion, and hang on one sec, I'm just looking. Yeah, I think this LP8550 will work. It's not the prettiest thing, but who cares? Worst comes to worst, we just resolder it. That's all. So this was in the ocean, but it had sand, water, and the backlight driver. Let's have a look. I have the streaming computer right here. It's a ThinkPad. To the desktop. Alright, so let me pull up that. And then I'll get screen capture set up only when I'm ready, because I don't want to Okay, so add display capture, yes. Okay. So that was the backlight driver. Why the problem? The other Mac, the processor. Well, here's why I'm coming to that conclusion, because it's turning on, but it's not booting. It's not thinking. I don't know if it's the CPU. It could be the CPU. It could be the BIOS. It could be anything. But given the fact that it's randomly not turning on, one thing I see with the AirSlot is a bad CPU because they're running it so hot. The Broadwell chips don't seem to be holding up to the heat. It seems to be like with the MacBook Airs, the 00165s that have, they do the same thing. They fail in the same way. They don't post. And I think it's the Broadwell chips. They're running them almost at 100 Celsius, and after a few years, they're gonna fail on you. So here on this board, here is the backlight driver. Check out that sand water right there. And then there's pin 5. That's why we have the wire right. Then there's that. We haven't cleaned that yet. I might have reflowed that. I don't know. Then we have the LVDS area that was just terrible. We're gonna work on that. I already changed the connector. I need to run a couple wires. And yeah, look at that, was terrible. Display capture. Alright, so let's have a look at this board. Haswell, Broadwell. The Haswell seem to be doing fine. It's the Broadwell, the first generation of 14 nanometers, that seem to have issues. They just seem to fail in that same way where they stop posting. Super high fan spin on startup immediately. That's because I had the I/O board unplugged and the sensors didn't initialize. So yeah, so we got some repealing and replacing to do. Now a lot of people are gonna do this and leave this, but you know what? Let's. Majority of this stuff will be fine after ultrasonic. Now here's something that astonishes me. Check this out. Right? This actually chimed with all this corrosion, but I can't leave this here because you know what's going to happen if I leave these FETs? The minute that it leaves the shop, it's going to switch open and send 12 volts to the CPU. So we got to reflow all that, get rid of all that corrosion. And then, okay. So, let's start. I guess let's start over here because this is the area I was already working on. Let's get a donor board. Man, I found my soldering last night to be really, really bad, but it's actually not bad. So what we need to do, we just got to say goodbye to a lot of this stuff right here. I can't leave on any of these components for backlight. It's just got to go. So we have busted pins for the connector as well. So let's start. The fuse is going to be fine. Nice donor board. Hey, I have a processor on here. But you know what? Okay, so here's the thing. I have a lot of boards that have the processor on them, right? They're all the MacBook Air Broadwell boards with the processor on it, all for the same reason. Because they're dead processors from that. Just the ULVs don't seem to be handling the heat. You know, if they would have sped the fans up a little quicker, maybe they're fine, but I don't know. I don't know if it's for sure the CPU. All I know is I believe it's CPU related. These caps are likely fine. Now what I'm going to do is just take my iron and just clean it up. When I get hot, there we go. It's hot now. You see, it's just ruined this whole area. You can go to. How's the stream coming in for everyone? Is it decent or not really? What I'm going to do is just put solder on everything. Good quality on your end, thank you. I want to start doing local work more because I just have to expand to do local work. It's not that I'm not getting good work now, I just want to, because there's going to be copycats locally and they are going to start taking my, well, not necessarily my market locally. I don't really have a name locally. My name is national. So what I want to do is increase my name locally so that in the event that some copycat decides, you know, it's not really copycat, but you know, someone's going to open it. You got to stay vigilant in this business, meaning, you know, you got to be the best at what you do, and you got to be the best at what you do in all aspects. So by me slacking off on advertising locally, that's leaving me open for someone else to open and take a potential market away. You know what I mean? So, let's put some flux down there, and we are going to start the rebuilding process. Won't be too bad. Flux on the donor board as well, because we want to kind of aid in the desoldering process, and we don't want to, you know, break any solder joints or anything, or break, like, the main thing is the fuse, because sometimes the fuse is you'll take it off and it's going to take half the fuse off and the rest is going to be on the board. Come on. You guys saw that, right? Alright, next one. Hot. And I just messed up that fuse. Let's see, how many fuses am I going to mess up before I get the one on correctly? Ow. Tweezers just burned me? Alright. Good thing I have a supply run coming in. Got it stolen. There we go. Let's see. So this stuff doesn't even look that bad, honestly. So when you see stuff that looks like this now, let's look at what's on the bottom of the Wi-Fi card. Is this the airport card's going to have to be replaced? I think, anyway. Ah, not too bad at all. That can stay. But, like right here, yeah, that looks, you know, pretty bad, right? But watch this. Watch this. Starting here. Just flux everywhere, right? I'm going to do a refill of this area. Yeah, that's corrosion, but that's not that bad of corrosion. I mean, nothing the ultrasonic isn't going to fix. Majority of this stuff is going to be fine after the ultrasonic. You do not belong here. Get off of this board. You do not belong. No JTAG connectors. No JTAG connectors allowed here. Get out of here. This area is concerning, but we'll get to that later. Let's fix the main issue right now is backlight. So right here, the pads, no, they're actually connected. This cap's gotta go. Let's get rid of this cap. Get out of here. Go. Get. Now I have another door on the board. You guys probably couldn't see that. Sorry about that. I was just changing this cap right here. Oh, and I missed a little component. Yeah, let's... Okay, well, they're close enough. Let's just do it one time. That's hot. Burn. The goods, the last thing we gotta do is run a little wire over here, and then people are gonna complain if I ever post this. Oh, it's too long of a wire, and it's like, no, it's not. I don't get why a lot of people, a lot of other techs, I don't know if it's jealousy or what, but a lot of them seem to have to always pick out what you're doing. If you're doing it differently than them, they always pick on you. You know, oh, this is wrong. This should be done with this. this wire's too long, this isn't this, you didn't conformal coat this. It's like, please, you know, I know what I'm doing. I'm not just starting. People see me sometimes and think, well, you know, what are you, just starting? No, no. You know what never came was my new tweezers. Time to check on those. With all the flux on the board, I'm surprised if we would get a chime. This may be one of the few boards that I may actually turn my hot air on low and push flux under the CPU before ultrasonic. Yeah, this is seawater damaged. Sand, I understand, you know. You're at the beach, you bring the computer, but how does it get in the ocean? You know, come on. Yeah, look at that. So see how good, definitely got the CPU. Let's see. So, yep, it got the CPU alright. Not too bad. So what we're going to do is clean this area, replace some of those FETs, because we wouldn't want to, the main thing, it works, it just, I don't want to leave them. You know, for reliability, they need to be changed. I don't want to mix up these screws, so I'm going to put them somewhere where... Yeah, you don't want to put the wrong screw for the MacBook Air CPUs, or any of them, really, because you're going to long screw the board, and then you're done. So let's work on this area now. Where's the fan even spun? It's one of those things that can't... Are the FETs probably going to be okay? Probably. But there's always that chance that they're going to get it back and it's not going to work. And then I'm going to regret it for not changing them because 12 volts went to the CPU. We're not going to change all of them, just the ones that are badly corroded. No, I saw that little solder ball. You're not going to go under my CPU. You get out of here. You're not welcome here. Last thing I want is that this guy to creep under the CPU. Here you go, come on. Get out of here. Alright. I better change all of them. It's gonna bite me back if I don't. I screwed up. Oh no, I guess there's no other way. I left the heatsink off, but let's get a heatsink. I don't think I got the CPU hot enough to hurt it yet. We don't want to overheat the CPU. Yeah, whenever you're doing rework, please put a heatsink on the CPU. We got it hot, but I don't think we got it hot enough to hurt it. So now what I'm going to do, of course, is get a couple heatsinks. Probably around 2, and I'm going to put them on the CPU package. And that should do a good enough job. Where's my heat sinks? I should have a few here. There's a couple. So I'm putting some heat sinks. I don't want to use GC Extreme. TG7. So I'm just gonna put some thermal paste down and put some heat sinks on the CPU package, and that should stop any, that should just, CPU is probably going to be fine anyway, but I would feel better with the heat sinks on it. So look, we have heat sinks on the CPU package. Now we're not going to damage it in any way because the heat sinks going to pull the heat. It's still going to get hot. It's probably still going to get to over 100 Celsius, but the thing is it's going to take longer, so as long as we get in and out quick, we should be fine. You may notice also that the chips are going to come off slower with the heat sinks on the CPU. That's all of them. Pull it down a little bit. Alright. Iron. This isn't the final coat of solder. This is just simply to help out in wicking, to create an alloy, because lead-free solder doesn't wick very well. So what we're going to do is clean all this away. Same with over here, same thing. Most of you guys know this. At least if I do this, I know the CPU is going to be safe to turn on and stuff, you know. Let's get a donor board. Does this one have it? Yep. Okay. Just going to put some fresh solder down. And put flux in there, almost out of this tube. Tired, I won't go to bed. But don't overdo it with solder on these, because there's always a chance that you're gonna short it, and then you're gonna send 12 volts to the CPU. I generally don't like changing these, honestly, but I will. Gotta do it. These ones aren't so bad. It's those there's another type of FETs they use, and those are just miserable. Because you can't see, you know, you can't get under it to measure. With these you can. So that's. Anyone notice flux as it ages, it doesn't seem to work as well? Like, what I notice is it tends to burn away quicker when it's old. When the new stuff just, you know. That's fine. You definitely don't want to short this guy right here over here, so leave that alone like that. It's good. Okay, let's solder the new ones in. So I just soldered 2 FETs. I'm noticing the CPU, I can still put my hand on it and it won't burn me, so that's a good thing. Just got to keep that temperature of the CPU down, because what you're going to notice, if you keep heating the CPU, the resistance is going to drop to the point where eventually it's not going to work. Hey Aaron, welcome back. No, this is not the bonfire board. We gave up on that a long time ago. CPU is dangerously hot. A little free spray in there. I'm going to put the board in my air filter just to cool it down a little bit. The increased airflow. Hopefully the CPU is okay. Anytime you do rework in that area, and anytime you get the CPU hot, usually the resistance is going to go down on CPU V core to ground. Keep it above 10 to 15 ohms. What did I spray on it? No, I sprayed freeze spray. Alright, should be cool enough. Yep. Alright, so now I'm not keeping my hopes up on the board chiming because it has flux everywhere on it, and it's probably not going to chime, honestly, but we're going to try. Let's clean the backlight area, the LVDS area, so we could fit a screen in it. But it's probably not going to chime because of all the flux everywhere. So don't keep your hopes up too much. I'm just cleaning. Just a little bit anyway. Should be good enough. Let's inspect these pins one more time before we cause a fire. Oh wow, see that? Glad I checked. Yeah, that's my past midnight soldering right here. Looks good to me. Alright, so let's plug this thing in. Will it work? I have no idea. Hopefully. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not gonna plug the fan or anything in it, just because that requires too much work right now. I'm not even gonna put the stock heatsink on. It's just gonna go with the heat sinks that I had. Yeah, if it starts with no backlight, it's LP at 5550 again because of my soldering, or from that little stub that I attempted late at night. Let's plug in this. The screen may even be bad. It's pretty corroded. But we'll see. Usually, 9 times out of 10, the screens are actually okay. The screen may not be making contact because let's get the I/O cable so we have audio. Also flip out from not hearing a chime. M-scope off. Yeah, after working on the CPU, if I didn't hear a chime, I'd probably. But then again, with all the flux, don't keep your hopes up. Alright. Will it work? Will it go on fire? Will it chime? It chimed, but we have no backlight. So, let's measure what backlight voltage is, and let's try and figure out what's causing that. .52 volts, it's not boosting. So let's fix the not boosting issue. That's easy. It could even be the feedback trace. I wonder if it's the feedback trace. Let's see. I want a working backlight circuit. Okay. Yeah, you know what, let's redo this LP at 5550. Doesn't look healthy enough to me. I changed this last night, by the way, but and you know what? Actually, we do not need a jumper there. I thought I did, but I was probably blind last night, so yeah, that looks fine. We don't need to do anything there, honestly. We don't even need a jumper there. It looks fine. I don't know why I put that there. I must not have seen it properly. Alright. And after this works, I'm gonna get something to eat, because I've not eaten yet. Everything I take something apart, I end up with extra screws. Where do those mystery screws come from? I don't know. We never figured that out here. We take apart stuff, and there's always mystery screws, and I don't know where they come from because I put them all back in. Not kidding. Like on PS4s, right? That always happens. I put every imaginable screw in, and there's always like 3 extras. Why? Makes no sense. Another good one is, where does the chips that fall on the floor go? Chips or screws that fall on the floor go into a different dimension. Yeah, we don't need a jumper right there, that's fine. Could have been a dud LP8550 too, that happens sometimes from the reel. Dud chips in general, they're common. I mean, it happens. Why wouldn't it work without those extra screws? They're not needed. You just made it better. You designed it, or you improved the engineer's design. That's all you did. You just made it better. And that is a nicely soldered LP8550. Better than factory. OEM, 100% certified repairs. Not really, don't take that seriously. No, there's going to be that one person that's going to throw a fit. Oh, you said your Apple this or certified. No. Not certified. None of this is certified. Because the independent technicians fix the stuff that certified technicians can't. Alright, let's see. Will this boost? What's it gonna do? Still no backlight, huh? Why? Oh, I think I know why. Now it's 0 volts, as if the screen wasn't detected. Okay, probably because all the flux in the LVDS connector. Let's reseat it. Yeah, that's not gonna make good contact. Let me clean the pins of the LVDS connector, because 0 volts is telling me the backlight is not enabled. Or the fuse is blown. Yeah, that connector went in much better that time. Let's try it one more time. The fuse blew. That's not good. Yeah, and you know what? I'm tired. Yeah, this, you know what? Now it's not chiming. Yeah, this probably did ultrasonic. Yeah, I'm gonna be done for tonight, I think. So, thank you for watching, and I'll have some better videos coming. I'm gonna do more pre-recorded stuff. It's just better that way. So thank you for watching, and I will see